What up, everybody? Welcome to Late Night Live number 157. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day, morning, night, whatever time it is for you. Oh, sorry we're starting a little bit behind the schedule today. I was a little on the, way too many things to do in the very last second before starting stream. I was scrambling to get everything done and ready to go. And in that scramble, I did not have time to... I want to prep a new nib, basically, or I'm going to sharpen a new nib. As always, I get questions all the time about sharpening nibs. This is going to be just a really quick tuning of this one before we get started. This is a fresh, brand new Leonard principle. Let me unlock the focus so it can follow what's going on here. How's it going, Lene? What's going on, Skeet? Wide awake and ready to write. I love to hear that. Oh, let's get our spinning top going. Oh, you know what else? It's going on kind of wonky. I forgot to bring my microphone down here, which is gonna... Is that gonna mess anything up? Put that just out of frame. There, now I should sound a little better. Okay. Let's sharpen a nib to get this party started. Just a really quick... Well, here, let's get a writing sample of it first, I suppose. Would be a good thing to do. I gave it a little spit shine right before we got started, just to see, or so that it wouldn't have any oil or anything on it. Hairline's actually not too bad. It's a little scratchy. So there's our new nib sample. Let's see if I can... Hairline's not bad. I can keep the hairline maybe slightly finer, and then we'll try to see if I can get it finer, but also smooth it out ever so slightly. Unless this is one of my already done nibs. I have two here in front of me, but I don't know which is the brand new one. Oh, I might have just used... Wait a minute. Well, now I don't know. I might have just severely messed that up. Nah. We'll go with this one. If it's a used one, then we will tune up a used one. Hello, Olivia. Good evening. I do feel like I end up doing this slightly different every time I do it, as I'm experimenting with it all the time. Today's method for the really quick shaping is going to be chapstick with some really fine, what is this, 2000 grit sandpaper wrapped around it. And the only reason I like to use a chapstick is it just gives me that curve into the tip of the nib. Hello, Karina. And then we're just gonna do this just on the tip. Oh, sorry. Do that in frame. What I'm doing, I'm just pressing under the nib to separate the tines a little bit. And then I'm just thinning from the outside in that leftmost tine just a little bit. If I wanted to be super precise, I would worry a whole lot about the angle and whatnot of the tip, but I really like this to be quick and dirty because it's something that I'm gonna sort of redo relatively often. not like a fountain pen nib that has tipping material that I'm shaping forever. Depending on the inks I'm using, I'll give this touch-ups every now and then. And then just by feel, I just thin out that tip. It is hot in my apartment today. I might have to turn the heat down. Well, I don't think the heat's even on. Okay, so we got the tip a little bit pointier. Hello, Just Winnie. Now we're gonna go in here and just smooth the tip. I'm gonna use that, a piece of, this is 12,000, I believe, is the micro mesh pink, the finest of the micro mesh set. And then I just let it, I roll the nib over it, letting the push pressure of the nib allows it to roll around the tip of the nib. And I do the side angle all the way around a couple times. Other side. And we don't need a nib to be exactly beautifully perfect today. I just want to see if I can get this one writing ever so slightly better. And then we'll do just, instead of there's flat and fully on the angle, we'll do somewhere in the middle and do basically the same thing. All the way around a couple times. This isn't really removing any material because it's very, very fine. It's just smoothing or burnishing the tip a little bit. I could also do this on an Arkansas stone. Sorry. But I find the weight of the Arkansas stone when I'm using it, it takes more pressure to just get that nice and smooth rotation, whereas with this, because it's nice and light and it has give, I can just hold really lightly with my fingers and just let it roll its way around to get, ideally, an even smoothness all the way around, in theory. How's everybody doing today? Alright, how's this look? Whoa, what happened there? That's weird. Hairline is definitely better. In comparison, not a massive difference, but it is better. Let's see, was that just a fiber that made that mess up at the end there? You'll notice through pretty much that whole sharpening process or tuning process, I only looked through the loop at the very beginning just to see, and then you just go for it. And I've said this before, you could be really fine-tuned, like fountain pen nib meisters, that's very exact, perfect work. For this, I could do that, but I like it to be, I want it to be quick and dirty. I don't want it to be something that takes a lot of time. I want the cost of admission to be very, very low and easy for anybody. So that's why I do it this way. Because this is sort of it's almost part of my practice routine now. When I start writing my nib, if I haven't done it in a while, we'll just get a really quick tuning session. But nothing that takes a long time. All right, let's see how that feels / looks. We'll come in a little closer. We will lock focus again. There we go. Oh, move my desk out just a little bit. There we go. It is pretty scratchy, but that's because that hairline is very, very fine. We'll just have to be careful, I think. Oh. Maybe I should address that. Real quick. Hello, Lewis and Anna. What's going on, Stroke Art? Welcome, welcome. Liasim? Liasim? Am I saying that right? I apologize if I'm not. Just doing another really quick, pressing a little bit harder. I need to get a new piece of micro mesh. You can't see, well, the focus. You can't see it on camera probably, but there's a bunch of tiny, tiny little, as I make nibs sharp, or as I'm tuning nibs all the time, every once in a while doing this, I'll catch inside because this is soft. So there's tiny little, almost like pinpricks sort of all over this thing now, that now I catch those previous existing pinpricks, which is no good. So I need to get a new piece of micro mesh. Because they do grab every once in a while. Give it a couple of those. We'll see how that goes. Fingers crossed. Not too bad. Skeet, this one's actually a Leonard Principle today. For some no real reason, I changed over the other day when I was filming that video of the nib after last week's session. Last week's live was a 101, and then the day after last week's live, I grabbed a Leonard Principle for some reason. I was inspired to dive into a principle. Fingers crossed. Sorry? With gimmick. You like Sherpa. Oh, my water jar. It's trippy. It looks like it's more full than it is. Let me top it up. Top up my water jar. There we go. I thought about it. I actually was thinking about doing a business penmanship stream tonight, but then as we got closer, I decided I wanted to play. I have to be so serious, I feel like, if I do, or when. I will do it one day, I promise. But when I do an engrosser stream, it's gonna have to be so serious. That hairline feels and looks a little better. There's still one point somewhere on there is catching, but we're gonna roll with it. We're gonna let it be what it is. Now, I don't know if anybody's on my Discord and saw my post earlier this week. Or last week maybe? Time flies, I can't remember. Where I said I'm starting to train, or I'm basically gonna step away from what we call forearm movement, where my forearm is fully planted on the desk when I'm doing capitals. I'm gonna still plant when I'm doing lowercase and whatnot, obviously, but for my capitals, I'm gonna practice in a way that I practiced when I first started doing movement writing, and that's lifting my forearm, not hovering over the desk, which I do sometimes, but just with weightless floating moving, so not being completely planted. I find when I'm completely planted, like if I make as big of an oval as I can completely planted, that's about my range limit, which admittedly isn't very big, and I've tried for years to grow this, to make it bigger, better, so that when I'm doing signature work and whatnot, I can reach a lot farther and do more complicated stuff. But it's never grown, and I find often when I hit the limits, obviously it affects my forms and my shapes of my ovals and things like that. So I am abandoning that when I'm doing capitals, at least for signature type stuff. When I have to go beyond the range, I was doing just something like that. My forearm can be dropped no problem and it doesn't affect anything. But when I'm doing complicated connections and whatnot, I would much prefer to let things glide so that I can go all around the page. I don't know what letter this is supposed to be. Didn't do that exactly like I had intended. It just feels much more free and loose, which is good. It does feel in certain instances that I am currently lacking control, though, because I've just been writing with my forearm permanently or fully planted for so long now. This feels like I'm just sort of floating, but we're diving back in to that world of ornamental or of movement writing. Hello, Yue. Hot chocolate again this evening, because I had dinner and it was yummy, and I wanted a snack, and I have nothing dessert-worthy in my apartment. Whoa! What's up with that shape? That's better. Interesting. I agree, Lene. I agree. Very fine dessert indeed. Oh, is Corinne painting today? We'll finish this page of just random warm-up words and whatnot, and then we'll dive into some. We'll go get out Mike Saul's book again, like last week, and pick some fun signatures in there. Hello, Reza. Welcome, welcome. Oh, 30 minutes to relax before work. Oh, it most certainly isn't, Hero. Good catch. Let's, bam. Now it is. My apologies. Oops. I often forget to do that when I change the focus. Sorry. See, like strokes like that just feel so much freer when my forearm is not all the way weighted on the table. I can do them with my forearm weighted, but they just feel so much freer. Writing smaller is the challenge. I like writing relatively small, and it's difficult to write small with my forearm not fully planted. It's something I have to get used to again. Thank you very much, Yue. Many, many, many drills. There are some penmen that manage to don't do drills and get away with not doing a lot of drills, but I feel like doing all of these types of drills very beneficial for me in taming those shapes. What final word should we write for practice? Let's write the word practice. Why not? Ooh, I really like the way that looks with, I will say this was 100% unintentional, but anytime I do a starting stroke like that from now on, I'm gonna try aiming this to go just with a slight space into that stroke, so it looks like that pen is writing that stroke. Accidental win. Yay. Happy accidents, as Bob Ross would say. All right. All right, to the book. What book, you might ask? Michael Sull, Spencerian Script and Ornamental Penmanship, Volume 2. I guess I'll zoom out and look through here. Oh, and I should report, I actually had a really nice chat with Mr. Sull earlier today. It is his birthday today, so I gave him a call to wish him a happy birthday. And we got chatting about the book, and I am happy to say that it is in the works for it to be printed again. It's probably not going to be for maybe a year or so, but the process, it is in the queue to be reprinted. So for those of you who've been scouring eBay and whatnot trying to get a copy of this book or Volume 1 is currently available, but Volume 2 will be if you can wait a year or two. Hopefully it's only that long, or maybe sooner than that. I haven't yet, and it probably will have no change to the outcome, but I might actually reach out to the people printing it just to say, hey, what's the, how soon's that gonna be done? Just because I want information. I don't need it, I already have it, but I want you guys to have it if you want it. Alright, let's go find some signatures again. Oh, this isn't even in the signature section. Look at that. She's beautiful. C, long S. I want to start using the long S more. H, Chambers. Ooh. That's a cool exit stroke that you don't see a lot. Want to try that one? Alright. We're diving in deep right off the bat. No massive shades, which is nice. Chambers. This one is going to be the one. This is an unusually complex exit stroke for a vintage signature. I like that. See how it goes. Ooh. Too deep. That's a good question. My favorite calligrapher. My favorite penman. You mean like of back in the day penman, I'm assuming. I have different favorites for different reasons. Like E.W. Blosser has always been a favorite of mine. Same with H.P. Berensmeyer. Something about their specific, and Berensmeyer specifically, his works, his signatures, and his flourishes and whatnot are really creative I find, but in a way that's not, like, I don't look at it and go, oh, that's super creative. Or I don't look at it and go, oh, he was super, like, out there with his ideas. If you think of, like FB Courtney, for example, Courtney was amazing, and everything he creates is super, super creative. So when I think of his writing, he's, I think, one of the most creative writers. But there are certain connections and whatnot that Berensmeyer makes in his writing that feel to me like connections I want to make naturally. So I really like his signature work. And then favorite as far as like what I study would be Lupfer. I think Lupfer is, I would call him like the gold standard for an ornamental penmanship base alphabet. I think if you train to look like him, and then you're good enough to basically put your own style on top of it. Because he doesn't have a whole lot of artsy extra. His is just, it seems super, super disciplined, for lack of a better word. His samples are just perfect. And then you take his perfect and then throw some style on it, and that's where you get like Courtney and Mataraz and all the other incredible penmen. He could do fancy stuff like that, but I feel like in general, his style was he was just very precise and exacting, I think. Sorry, long-winded answer to your question. Alright, let's just dive in. Should we do one slow so we know where we're going? We'll go like medium speed. Let me come back in here, sorry. So, I definitely forgot that this is supposed to go around through there before going into the S. And the C, for some reason, I thought it had a loop on the top. It does not. The first one does. So, I forgot some things and added some things. Ooh, Linnae. Engrossers, Spencerian, or business penmanship. When you say Spencerian, do you mean like ornamental penmanship or traditional Spencerian? That's an important distinction if I'm picking favorites. Oh, I think there's an ad playing right now. Should I write this when there's an ad playing so nobody can see it? Come back from the ad and it'll just be done? Taking too long, so that's not going to happen. That'll work. Oops, wrong S. I used habit by accident. So my favorite of all is ornamental penmanship, which is this, basically. And then, I have to be honest, I like writing business penmanship, but I find business penmanship relaxing to practice. I'm not as good as it as I want to be, but when I practice it, there's not as many elements, I feel like, that have to go into it as ornamental penmanship. So I find it relaxing to sit down and practice it. I quite enjoy it. Engrosser script, I love seeing, I love looking at. I do enjoy writing it, but because of the speed, or it's slower, and when I'm writing it, it feels like I'm working when I do engrosser script. And I know that sounds terrible because I love engrosser script, but I don't write it a ton because I don't find the process of writing it super enjoyable. I don't hate it by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not. I am a fun. I do fun things. I like fun things, and ornamental penmanship is my favorite because I find it very fun and exciting to write. And engrosser script is, if I want to write something very beautiful, I'll use something like engrosser script. But the writing it's more about the outcome, the end result, than it is about the process. Where with ornamental penmanship and whatnot, the process is what I love so much. The outcome is also fun and cool, but it's more about, for me anyways, the process of getting it on paper. Oh, I didn't really give myself enough room here for this exit stroke. The rest turned out really good though. Here, I'm gonna answer that question right after I take a stab at this exit stroke. I gotta map it out. Something like that. Engrosser script is penmanship and copperplate is calligraphy. So I am on the person, and different people have different opinions of this specific topic. For me, engrosser script and copperplate are the same thing. To me, I find them to be the same. The way I write them is the same. Foundationally, they are the same. They are potentially could be considered stylized in two different ways, but to me, they are the same thing. I think English roundhand came first, and then it got changed into what we know as engrosser script in America, and then I don't really know the history of why they started getting called copperplate, because that's a printing process, not a writing style. But I don't tell people to not use copperplate, because it's like a term that's been used so much that it's so ingrained in the calligraphy world now that it's just a part of the calligraphy world. You can't say that it's not a thing because it's been used enough that it is a thing now. But I personally, it's English, or it's engrosser script. Personally. When it comes to the one is penmanship, one is calligraphy, that all comes down to your definition of certain words. The textbook definition of calligraphy is basically beautiful writing, beautiful letters, beautiful writing. So ornamental penmanship, Spencerian, business penmanship, engrosser script, it's all calligraphy, or can be considered calligraphy. When it comes to what is penmanship, not all penmanship is designed to be artistic. But you could find it beautiful. So some people could say business penmanship's not calligraphy, that's just penmanship. But when people look at it and it's beautiful, some people would maybe call it calligraphy. It's tricky. Personally, because of the speed that engrosser script and copperplate, English roundhand, and whatnot is written, I don't really care which is used for it, but for me, penmanship is more so the... how to say this? It's painting myself into a corner a little bit. Like, to me, my writing is... I consider this penmanship more than calligraphy. I think it's beautiful, so I wouldn't say it's not calligraphy, but for me, I'm a penman, I do penmanship. More so than I'm a calligrapher and I do calligraphy. Am I a calligrapher who does calligraphy? Yes, but I do penmanship. If you want to call my penmanship calligraphy, I'm not going to correct you. My business has calligraphy in the title. I call myself a calligrapher as well because I am one. But technically, deep down, this to me is penmanship more so than calligraphy. If I was doing engrosser script, because it doesn't have sort of or copperplate, because it doesn't have the fluid movement that, to me, that's what penmanship is. Those would lean more heavily towards the calligraphy side of the debate. But there's no right or wrong answer to that question. I've been asked it so many times, and on people's podcasts, interviews, YouTube videos, all sorts of stuff with other people. I've sort of answered different versions of that same thing. The words don't matter all that much, I don't really think, in that instance. Because it all comes down to your personal definition of certain words. Okay, let's try to put this ending stroke. Whoops. So yeah, this does cut through there. And this has to come around. That should have been longer. So this cuts through there and then follows that line parallel. Oh, and he brings his C so low that it can go through there. Okay. That's a good thing. Do you frame it or put it in an envelope? But that being said, I've put things in envelopes and sent them to people that then they have framed and put on the wall. So it can be both. Yeah, I've seen his documentary. There are many people who highly dislike the term copperplate calligraphy, copperplate in general. It's a debate that I don't get into very often with people. Many people have their reasons for using the terms they use. I will often say engrosser script copperplate. I sort of use them when I say one, I say the other, just so I don't want to be excluding. Personally, I lean to the side of I prefer engrosser script, but it's undeniable that people use the other one, so I use both. It's not a hill I'm willing to die on because there is no right or wrong answer. It's just like Spencerian and ornamental penmanship. What I consider ornamental penmanship, a lot of people consider Spencerian. What I consider traditional Spencerian, I start using the term traditional before it now, specifically so people know exactly what I'm talking about. But they're just words. Something like that. Not the smoothest, but it'll work. Well, and Sudeep, to some people, they're not different scripts. To some people, they are the same. Ornamental penmanship comes from Spencerian script. But the main reason I use Spencerian and ornamental penmanship separately, or the way to me they're two different things, is basically just the way the old penmen that I study would call things. All writing like this was referred to as ornamental penmanship. It was rarely referred to as Spencerian script. And traditional Spencerian script is a thing, so I kind of tie Spencerian script to the traditional, and then when you take the sort of let the flourishes go crazy around it, then it evolves into ornamental penmanship. But there are enough people on the planet that feel that feel Spencerian and ornamental penmanship are the same thing, that I have to use them both sort of interchangeably. But for my students, for example, I specifically always specify ornamental penmanship or traditional Spencerian. I rarely use just the term Spencerian because it means something, but it means many different things to many different people. So I always specify it's either ornamental penmanship or traditional Spencerian. It's sort of one or the other. Ill-informed. Well, no, I could be ill-informed. There's just different things for different people. There is a font, a style of lettering in like typography people, and it's called, what's it called? It's not Spencerian script. It's called Spencerian. I can't remember the term that comes after it, but it's Spencerian something. And it has nothing to do with Spencerian at all. It's very old, not nearly as old as Spencerian. What do they call it? Spencerian lettering or something like that. But it is a known style in the typography world. And the person who essentially created it titled it Spencerian lettering or whatever they call it. And it is, like I said, nothing to do with Spencerian script. But because that person, whoever made it up, so long ago used that term, erroneously, they shouldn't have, but they used this term, and it's been used in that community that didn't know anything about Spencerian for so many years, that if I go into that community and just say, oh, you shouldn't call that Spencerian, like Spencerian's named after a person who created there's a reason it's called that, it's not just a word. They won't listen to any of that because this person is known in the world for this script and they call it this, and for so many years people have called it that, so it's now its own thing that has nothing to do with Spencerian. It's, in my opinion, absolutely ridiculous that it has anything to do with Spencerian at all, but it does. And there's no point for me trying to have that battle with people in that world because that's their term for it. So it's kind of like when people argue copperplate's not a thing, because many people will say that. Copperplate's not a thing. It's English roundhand, and then there's different styles of it. But enough people call it copperplate. There's enough books that have been published that it's no point having or making that argument anymore, basically. You can never win, pretty much. So, I have my own personal views about that stuff, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. In my personal opinion. Sorry, that was a very long-winded answer to those questions. Probably lost all the viewers that were in here. Nobody wants to see Mike rant about different lettering style names. Or not rant, I guess. It's hard for me. I guess I gotta bring the S closer to the C, because the C has to be inside this loop, or the second C has to be inside this loop. Oh, and favorite non-script? That's easy. That would be Trajan's or Roman capitals. Without a question, is my favorite non-script style of lettering. it's a big goal of mine to get better. I've done a lot of study and whatnot in Roman capitals and whatnot, but not nearly as good as I want to be at it. Not nearly. But yeah, Roman capitals. Probably considered the most difficult of like the broad pen scripts or broad brush and whatnot, but it's amazing. It's beautiful. And yeah, being open-minded about that stuff is, I think, super important. Anytime somebody teaches or says something sort of dogmatic, like, this is the way, I think that's baloney. Weird shaped C. Weird to me how big he makes that second C really tall, which feels wrong. It's not wrong. It just goes against my own tendencies. Same with doing the same R as him. I habitually just never do. Yeah. I agree. No sense stressing out about all that stuff. Just write. We're just writing pretty. That's all it is at the end of the day. We're not saving lives. Or are we? Oh no. Whoops. Why exactly is it called ornamental penmanship? Because it's penmanship, and they made it look all flourishy and whatnot, more so than Spencer ever did with Spencerian. I think even like when Spencerian was created, it was a writing style. It didn't have a lot of extra flourishes. The shades were very minimal. And that's where and I could be wrong about this, but my sort of thought is, like when Spencerian was sort of the first lettering or writing style, and the shades or the capitals had their little bit of shade and whatnot, and it was designed to be written with the body and to be able to keep writing all day long and to look both legible and beautiful and flowy and whatnot, and to be written at speed. And then when business penmanship became a thing, realized for business they want to write even faster, even easier to read. So then business penmanship took away a lot, like the flourishes, simplified the capitals, basically simplified to push more in the realm of legibility and less in the realm of beautiful writing. Or really ornamental stuff. And it's at that point where I feel like it stopped being Spencerian, because the Spencerian was this writing style, and then when you take away the shades and whatnot, you get business penmanship. But instead of just keeping Spencerian the way it was, they were like, oh, well, if business penmanship exists, then we're not going to be using Spencerian for business anymore. We can make this artistic, and we can make it much more expressive. So that's where, when it became more expressive than traditional Spencerian, then it got the new, I guess, title, or started getting known as business or as ornamental penmanship. Or there was also, like in the Business Educator, you'll see in samples of what you think is very similar to like a traditional Spencerian or a slightly shaded business penmanship, which was often referred to as artistic penmanship. So in like the Zenarian era, there would be business penmanship, artistic penmanship, and ornamental penmanship, basically. Yeah. At some point, and I don't know why or when specifically, but at some point, Spencerian wasn't used for as a general term for the style. And I don't know specifically why that is. I don't know if there was because there was other people doing some similar-esque things like Duntonian and whatnot, that it just sort of became, well, all of this is artistic penmanship, and then when we make it crazy, now it's ornamental. Yeah, and then there's obviously everything is a spectrum. It's not just a black or white, on or off type of thing. Not binary. I'm liking the questions tonight. They're good questions. I like a good question. My answers might not always be exactly right, but eh. I will give it my best shot always. This nib, something is up with it. And I couldn't see what it was. All right. Try to do a small one. Smallish. Do I know shorthand? No, not at all. I think shorthand is cool. I don't think I'll probably ever learn it though. Just because I don't think I'd ever really use it. Or if I had to choose one, no question, ornamental penmanship. I love the history and whatnot of Spencerian, but Spencerian is not very, what I consider traditional Spencerian's not crazy expressive. It's not super playful in its whatnot. So for me, it'd be ornamental penmanship all day. No contest. How a typed letter became a professional standard for business, even though it was so inefficient to write the thing. Oh, so they would write it first, then type it? Because the typing would make mistakes? I'm confused. Let's dive back into, let's find another signature here. Zoom out. Somebody remind me to change focus again when we go back to the, wait, we can check out, no, we'll go to the actual signature writing section of the book. There we go. Now, these were all FB Courtney's signatures. Oh, and we were talking last week about, it's very bright when I'm zoomed out that far, about this specific collection of signatures. I have learned it is lost. Nobody that we know owns it currently. It was sold at one point, and now nobody knows where it is. Once upon a time, Michael Saul did own these signatures, but now the collection is gone, lost. Perhaps we'll unearth it one day if it still exists. Alright, I want to go past... Whoa! That's quite snazzy. Is that the one I want to go for? Are there any books on engrosser's script besides the Zenarian Manual? That is a wonderful question. There are modern books. There were a lot of lessons on engrosser script and whatnot in, like, published in the Business Educator, the Western Penman, the American Penman, the Zenarian Exponent, and whatnot. A lot of the penmen of the day would post classes or would post series of lessons in engrosser script. But as far as actual published books, aside from the Zenarian Manual, I'm maybe misremembering, and people might be watching this video going, Mike, what about blah 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 blah, but I'm not thinking of them right now. I can't, not really, which is weird. But Palmer's penmanship budget, what's going on, David, isn't about engrosser script. There's engrosser script in it. But, like, well, it happens to be right here. A copy of Palmer's penmanship budget, which is primarily, it's a penmanship book. It does have engrosser, just like the Zenarian Manual has the other things. But I guess the Zenarian Manual isn't all engrosser script either. That's interesting that there are so many of, like Zenarian's Manual, like for business penmanship. There are tons of books. There is basically as many books as there are the lessons published. But when it came to engrosser script, it's really a lot of just the lessons. There's not as many dedicated books. Why do you think that is? As somebody in the chat who specializes in engrosser script now, David's the perfect one to answer these questions. Because you can get really into the details of, which is like what they do with ornamental penmanship and like business penmanship and stuff. I'm curious why they don't do that, or why they didn't do that with engrosser script in book form very much. Like, I think most of the books really just show, well, let's see, the engrosser script that's in Palmer's penmanship budget. I never think of this as it's a penmanship book. But it has business penmanship, ornamental penmanship. Where's engrosser script? And we have, did I miss it? We have broad pen, we have engrosser's text. Come on, did I miss it? Ah, there it is. We have engrosser's script back on page 100. Examples of it. And then that's it. Just a few pages. No love for Zenarian or for engrosser script in books. Why? What's up with that? I'm insulted on Engrosser Script's behalf. What just happened? My OBS just apparently disconnected and reconnected. Sorry if that glitched out for a second there, everybody. You can't say that all the joy is sucked out. I think people are harsh, or pretty harsher on Palmer than he deserves. I think this could be a really out there comparison or example, but I feel like Palmer, well, this is a bad example, but he's kind of like the Guy Fieri of penmanship. Everybody hates on Guy Fieri, but he didn't do anything bad. I saw a comedian talking specifically about Guy Fieri, but Palmer, I mean, people hate on him more than I think he deserves. Yeah, it's just the Zenarian manual. Gives Engrosser Script more pages. There you go, David. You should write a book. Engrosser Script needs a manual that doesn't have all the other stuff, that is just Engrosser Script. Yeah, that's true, I suppose. I wonder if it's one of those things, and I could be very wrong about this, I'm just spitballing ideas now. I'm wondering if, like, engrossers had their studios doing their engrossing, and is it possible that it's something they didn't really want to share to not lose business? But that wasn't really the thing in the penmanship world? I mean, there's tons of crossover. That's a very good point. Yeah, like it seems there were enough people teaching penmanship that I don't feel like, specifically I'll talk on ornamental penmanship, I don't feel a lot of like, I don't feel like I read a lot of gatekeeping or anything like that, or information withholding, because it was taught so many places by so many people that I almost think because so many people were teaching it, if somebody were to withhold things, they'd almost get like called out by the community. I do think in the books certain things are worded in such a way that give you just enough but make you still want to take an in-person class with that person to sort of be able to read between the lines a little bit. I think sometimes they intentionally, and I could be wrong, it could just be the evolution of English and whatnot, but I feel like they sort of intentionally wrote some things to be confusing so that you'd have to seek out an in-person teacher to really get to the bottom of certain things, which is not surprising. Especially when it's rapid and movement based, it's tough to not, or there's a lot of things that you kind of need to see. So they might have done that to coax them into going to, come to our school, register for this curriculum or whatever, or these courses. Exactly what David just said, Sudeep. Let it go. Let it be. Because a lot of those books, the information in them, if you can get over the title, a lot of that information is valid. Or could be. If you really, if you're looking for specifically to see different practitioners' way of explaining different sort of elements and whatnot, because there's not a ton of, there are books that have it in them, go to the Business Educator. Dive in and find the Engrosser's Lessons series in the Business Educators, because there was tons of them. And that's what I like most about all those old lessons in business penmanship, ornamental penmanship, all that, because it's just I liked hearing how like one teacher or one penman would explain something compared to how another penman would explain it, because then I get a little bit of insight. It's not possible for me to go to attend a summer program or to attend the school anymore. So I like hearing how different penmen express essentially the same thing. Because some things they express the exact same, other things completely different. Oh, different businesses have different. Well, if you're just thinking just like standard business, it was basically business penmanship. I don't think it was really specific to a type of style or like a penman's, like how champions looked different than any other. Not names aren't coming to mind right now than any other like ornamental penmanship. Like Mills, EC Mills, for example. I don't know that it's, oh no, you gotta write like this versus this. It was more just about clarity and legibility and whatnot. For the business. I think the penmen dug a little deeper into styles they liked and whatnot. But for the business itself, I think it was mainly just about legibility and speed. Because if the writing looked good. Because the better the writing looked, the better the business looked. Pre-typewriter, basically. Good discussion. Come to my school. I wish was something we could still advertise and whatnot today. I guess certain people can. Certain people have, I guess not schools, but have physical locations that exist. Okay, I just gotta walk myself through this signature first here to see where we're going. This is way too big, but we're gonna roll with it. It's interesting having that. Well, that should be centered. This is not gonna be clean, but just feeling it out before I can actually think about it. Oh, an interesting H. And then that same exit flourish we were doing last week that I never tend to use. Oops. There you go. We need a... Yeah, we'll have all the penmen go to one location. We just need to take over a town, basically. We need to make a penman town. Let's all go down to Penman Town. Works for me. Ooh, there would be a lot of arguments, I think. That'd be long term with all the penmen. Could be interesting. A lot of opinionated individuals in there. Myself included. True. It's a good way to think about it, Lene. Oof. Oop. That's good. I like that. The town needs a soda shop. I'll be the town dance teacher. There we go. I'll just teach dance class in Penman Town. Okay, now this A has to be super long. Oh no, I didn't realize the strokes aren't, he didn't even connect them. That might not be on purpose, but. Turn my page a little bit this way. Yeah, we all moved to Penman Town, and there's like the swim instructor. We all have different careers. But we still, the pen makers still make money because we still buy all the tools and have all the things. And meet up and talk about penmanship. But it's none of our careers. Which would actually be okay. Because then it is just our hobbies, which would be great. Especially if all your clients in something else were penmen, but hobby penmen. So you could all just love penmanship. But it wouldn't be about no politics, no money, no anything. Just penmanship. Because you all have businesses. Oh, we export penmanship. I don't think I can be down for that, David. That feels a little too like footloose for me. No dancing in that town. No penmanship in this town. I don't think I can be down for that. It's this one that goes super high. Oof. My ovals feel all over the place today. Forgot what letter I was gonna do, so we're gonna do a C instead of the H. Whoops. Ah, so we keep the media guessing, so we don't want anybody to know. We pretend we export the, I mean, heck, we pretend all the penmanship is just AI. We've trained AI models in Penman Town to do the penmanship for us, so we can all have these different careers. But then we go home and secretly do the work of the AI working penman. Uh-oh, reminds you of what? That's better. Let me just finish this signature real quick, then I'll read that message. This is such a weird H. That has a giant shade on the end. We need a lot of ink. Try not to speed up. That H. Strange. Something like that. She gave ChatGPT her Engrosso script homework. She should not do that, because that's just teaching the AI to do it. Don't let AI know it exists even. She told it was wrong. No, let it think it's wrong. Dang. That's kind of funny. Am I allowed to ask what aspect? Or if it might be too detailed to describe. Oh, that looks like a Z without the stem stroke. That's funny. That is fully a Z without the stem stroke. Interesting. That variation of the B without the stem is just a Z. Interesting. Ah, bouncing baseline. Nice. Good catch, AI. Good catch. Yeah, that's a valid. If you're gonna be... I'm surprised they don't line with a... I always line with, like... I guess some people say it's hard to erase, but you don't press hard. I line everything with a 0.3 mechanical pencil. Because I don't like thick pencil lines. For that very reason. Or for... that's one of the reasons, I guess. Bouncing baselines are interesting though, because even when I get super detailed, like super specific in writing, even in business penmanship and ornamental penmanship, I find if I'm not writing on a physical baseline, if I have like a sheet under my writing sheet or whatnot, it is so easy to do that same thing where my downstroke goes sometimes sits on the line, sometimes in the middle of the line, sometimes, and it's fractions of millimeters above or below. But when you look at the whole thing as a whole, you can see it, which is annoying. That slight inconsistency. Oh, darn it. This should have gone way over here. And then that would have been much better. Oops. Oh well, we'll keep going anyways. I don't think AI is coming for any of our jobs anytime soon. Oh, this was supposed to have this on it. Oh well. Let's move on to another one. I've been meandering with this one for a little while. Or we could create some. Maybe one more from the book. And then I'll just start, and I'll create some unique combinations, perhaps? Let's see. We're gonna... I almost said scroll past. We're gonna go to the book and go beyond. Have I ever done your name? I've done a signature for you before, have I not, David? I'm gonna go beyond, go past Courtney's signatures. Jeez, there's so many. Okay. What catches the eye? Oh, I guess that you guys can't really see what the heck I'm looking at. Sorry. Zoom out a little bit. Sorry about that. Or do I want to create? Or do I want to do any more from the book? Maybe I'll just go into create mode. How am I feeling today? That's such a cool signature. I'm gonna go into create mode. Oh, which part? Oh, the SE, this one? Where is it? There's two of them. This one? I'm assuming is the one you're talking about? Or, I prefer this one. It's the same thing, basically, but I think it's executed better. And it has this snazzy exit flourish on it. Oh, that's the one you're talking about. We could give it a shot. We'll give it a shot. A little bit of whole arm movement action. Practice. All right. All right, zoom back in. Well, hello, Mum. Good evening to you. Did you feed your birds yet? Right before the stream started, I sent my mom a message saying that her birds were hungry. You didn't? For Christmas, me and my sisters got my parents a Wi-Fi bird feeder. And I basically every day log in and check out the birds that are on the farm where I grew up. And I can see when they run out of seeds. So I send messages. I give my parents a hard time because they're not feeding their birds. Poor little hungry chickadees. All right. Sweet. They still have suet, so they're okay. And there might be seeds not in the camera view that I just can't see. Oh, that's not supposed to stop. Nor is that supposed to have an extra loop in it. Wow, sometimes your brain just wants to do its own thing. And sometimes you just let it. There's something, this has happened multiple times to me tonight. I'm learning something about my own habits, which is fascinating. When I do this stroke, pulling this long, I pull it long on this axis and not on my slant line. which is interesting. Because just like earlier, this should be over here. But I pull it more vertical every time. Oops. The red poles are jerks. The red poles fight the chickadees, which I'm not a fan of. But luckily they don't hang out at the feeder all day long. Whoops. Okay, pull this direction. Poor execution, but that's okay. It's a start. I also have to not snap that so much at the end and put the shade here instead of here. And this shade has to go here. Okay. Hello, Debarg. Yep. Welcome, welcome. I did it again. I keep stopping when I get to that E, because I want to go into a stem like the B. Eventually, I'll stop doing that, hopefully. Not the best exit flourish, but it's a step in the right direction. I have a feeling he turned his page when he did this end this stroke here. I think to get that natural upper shape on that oval. Ooh, what are you having for leftovers, Linnae? What's on the menu? Too far away. There's a book in the way. Turn this a little this way. Something like that. Like so. The shades are so big. How do they make the shade so big? It's not terrible. I gotta get bigger shades. I bet you if I had a Hunt 101, they'd be bigger, but... It's the attack. The attack on the downward shade pressure. I need more attack on my shade. Because I know if my movement is solid enough, it won't affect my movement. There's no tentativity in the movement. Then adding a thicker shade won't affect anything. I just have to snap super quick. There is something still catching on here. That I'm not a fan of. I think it's the inside of the right tine. Maybe. Okay. You want a speed solve of that cube? Give me 1 second. Unfortunately, you can't get a speed solve of this cube. Because this cube is not a Rubik's Cube. It's a tin. And it's full of Leonard principles. A whole lot of them. Yep, you've been bamboozled. Sorry. My Rubik's Cubes were here. Then there's this, which is a pin, which I obviously can't solve, which is also up here. The only Rubik's Cube that is within reach right now, the rest are all on my piano on the other side of the room. But if I go in my pocket here, there are two things that are always in my pocket. One of them is my pocket die, which is always in my pocket. Always, always. The other is a Rubik's Cube, which I cannot speed solve because it's way too tiny. And I mess up the algorithms at the end. I could do probably half of the cube, but then I always mess up the ending of the cube with this little one. Sorry. I apologize. These will now go back in my pocket where they belong. There you go, everybody. Random Mike Ward fact. If you see me on the street and you ask me, the Rubik's Cube's not always there, but the die is always there. Always, always, always. No matter what pants I'm wearing. Unless I'm teaching a dance class. I guess sweatpants. Pockets that have the little coin pocket, it's always in there. I'm not super fast with a Rubik's Cube, to be quite honest. When I was the fastest I ever got was like a minute, which in the realm of Rubik's Cubes, it's not that fast. I never learned any of the more complex algorithms. So I'm not really a Rubik's Cube master. I love the Rubik's Cube. It's more so a physical embodiment of my love for puzzles. I love puzzles more than I love just Rubik's Cubes. I have many Rubik's Cubes and I like them and I can solve them. But I'm not a Rubik's Cube person per se. I'm a puzzle person. And Rubik's Cubes just happen to be really cool puzzles that are fun to collect. Can I give some tips on hand stability? Probably. Could you describe to me a little bit more specifically what you mean by hand stability? Sorry, I'm just reading your earlier message now. I apologize. I was in Rubik's Cube mode. I've never done finger tutting before. I've did hand tutting, but never finger tutting. So specifically, if you're just saying your hand is feeling unstable because you're anxious, or unstable when you're anxious. So the key word in that is the very last one, and that's anxious. I think the best thing any penman can do, any calligrapher, any penman, really any artist, in my personal opinion, is to relax. And it's way harder I can't just say, well, yeah, relax. It's that easy. But that is what you have to do. It's the breathing. There's never a need to be anxious when you're doing penmanship or when you're practicing writing or anything like that. We're not doing brain surgery. We're not saving lives. Unless, like, if you're writing something on an existing piece that you could potentially ruin, then that could be a little stressful, but that's not the practice. We're not doing that when we're practicing. So if you have shaky hands, then the best thing I can suggest is, I guess without being with you, depending on how much the shake is, I would really say step 1, ensuring that you're not gripping the pen, like no white knuckles required. If you're doing penmanship, the pen only needs to be in your hand as loose as so it just doesn't fall out, but it should be super loose in your hand, so there's no tension in the fingers. That will ease. Often when we tense, that's where some of our shake and stuff will start to come from. So we want to be super relaxed, same in your body and everything. You want to make sure that your chair is a good height for your desk, so you're not like this where your shoulders are shrugged, or you're not like reaching down to the table. You're not too high. And that could be sometimes as easy as, well, if you have a chair that changes height, changing that, or off most tables that people write on or desks tend to be too high, so our shoulders get shruggy, and that's really rough here, which causes tension, which will lead to shaking and instability in the hand. So sometimes as easy as sitting on a cushion, just to get you in that nice, when you're relaxed, your arms are at a nice relaxed, like 90-degree bend here, and then they're sitting just on the table, relaxed. So they're not reaching for the table, and your shoulders are not needing to lift in order to have movement or anything. Everything is neutral, basically. Neutral is very important, because we're doing things relatively quickly, and I feel like movement writing and rapid writing is the thing you should be practicing. If you have really shaky hands, then if you're shaky when you do a line, the best way to get that line straight is to do the line a little bit faster. You don't have to do it super fast. There's no benefit in going super fast. There's a benefit in going fast enough that you have fluid movement. That's the key. It's not about speed, it's about fluidity, basically. But I would say before everything, it comes down to breathing, relaxing the shoulders. When you sit down to write, check with yourself. Do that sort of personal, like, cool, is my arm relaxed? Is my shoulder here? Good. Come with these. Every time I teach a class, no matter what class it is, we do shoulder rolls, we roll our neck, and I make everybody do this. Because you gotta be relaxed. As soon as something starts to get stressful or tense, you see that in the writing, and that's where, if you have a shaky hand, it's just gonna get shakier. So you just wanna let that all out. If you're writing something that could be considered important, like when I write a letter to a fellow penman or something, it's easy to go, oh, I need this to be perfect, so I tense up and everything gets strict. No, I have to do the exact opposite. When I'm writing something more stressful, I have to relax myself even more to counteract the stress that the piece itself is creating. Because I can't have stress in my writing. You can see it, and there's stress in the movement, and we need the movement to be relaxed. So, unfortunately, there's no shortcut to being relaxed when you're writing. The best way is to practice being relaxed. For a bit, let it be less about the forms you're writing, less about the ovals you're writing and having them be perfect and whatnot, and more about, cool, I did those ovals, they look crazy, they're crazy shaped, but all my lines are smooth, and I wasn't stressed doing it. And then the more you do that, you'll eventually start getting your ovals and gaining that control without losing the relaxation and fluidity. And then eventually you do complicated things, and you're still able to maintain that relaxation and fluidity. I hope that helps. Again, there's no shortcut, unfortunately, and it's the worst advice ever, because there's nothing worse than when you tell somebody, hey, how do I relax? And that person says, well, just relax. But it's really all I could say. Just go through, check with yourself, check your body, and just relax. Play, if music helps you relax, play some music that is relaxing. Or if the movie Jurassic Park makes you feel relaxed, put Jurassic Park on in the background when you're practicing. Do any hack you can to relax. I had a student once upon a time who, not to a crazy degree, but when they were practicing complicated things with movement, they found that a couple sips of a beverage, of an alcoholic beverage, not to get drunk, but just a couple sips took the edge off, where they could then, it helped the anxiety. Now, I'm not suggesting that. Go drink a whole bunch before you write. But for this particular student, that was something that did help them. And you can obviously go too far, and then you'll lose control and whatnot as well. But you just want to take that stress or that edge away, so that you're starting from a relaxing, clean slate, basically. Any tips on the shade while we write N on an engrosser script shade? Well, and that's the... we have an engrosser script aficionado in the chat. So please, David, feel free to correct or anything that I'm saying. I'm not going to give any world-altering views on creating forms. Whoops, I forgot to lock the focus again. But I would say think less about creating the N, less about the letter N. It's not about the letter N. You want to have your clean overturn. You want to have your clean downstroke. You want to have your clean overturn. You want to have your clean compound curve stroke. And then you want to have your clean undercurve. If you want to do a clean N, do pages of these. Specifically this one. You like having your shade be the same thickness in the middle, and have the shade tape, or the right tine tapering into this way. And then when you're going out, tapering in this way. But in the middle, this and this match. So in the middle, you're staying nice and uniform and the same. Same when you're doing the first stroke. Your width of however thick your shades are in that specific piece of writing, that shade is tapering the same as it tapered there. And then you're flat on the bottom though, because it's the N. So do all of those strokes, because if you can't do those strokes, then I'm sorry to say it, and it sounds like harsh sort of advice or things to say, but if I give somebody a pen and I tell them to give me a really clean, just a compound curve engrosser script shade, and they can't, then I don't need or want to see or correct their writing. I will correct that stroke until it is correct, until they can do a bunch of them, always looking correct, and then you can make letters. I mean, I'm not saying don't make letters, but when you're practicing and you're critiquing, critique these until you've quote unquote mastered them. When you've mastered them, then the focus can be on the letters. If you write the letters before you've mastered these, then just let them be what they be and don't worry about correcting them. Because these are, especially in an engrosser script, like there are a few forms and whatnot in ornamental penmanship that sort of make up the rest of the letters. But when it comes to engrosser script, there's not a whole lot of elements to make up all of the letters. It's like one of those digital clocks. With this shape or with these symbols, depending on different orders, you can make the 3. You can make the 2. It's similar to that. If you can get these forms, the opposite of this one, like those 3, perfect, and with your overcurves and undercurves nice and clean and shape-wise, then you're golden. Then the letters are just A plus B equals C, and they're always going to be beautiful and perfect, basically. So yeah, again, all my answers today have been very long-winded, sorry. But don't worry about the N, worry about that sequence, basically. And then, if there are further advice that David would like to give, he can type it in the chat. But that would be my main advice. Don't let it be about the letter, let it be about the form. And then the letter will just happen, basically. Like magic. You'll accidentally do a perfect letter because you already have perfect base forms. Perfect. There's no such thing as perfect, but you know what I mean. Sounds good, Mom. Good night. I will be checking on the birds tomorrow to make sure they have food. There. Long-winded answers today to all of my questions. I like a good long-winded answer. Let's do S.E. Bartow one more time. Do I teach in Grosser Script 2? No, I do not. If somebody asked me to, I probably wouldn't say no. I enjoy Grossers. I understand engrossers. It's just not something I teach really. Very much. Have I ever taught in Grosser Script? No, I've actually never taught it, which is interesting. Nobody knows I do it. It's a secret. Don't tell anybody. Oh, I forgot what I was doing. I didn't make that B long. Whoops. Can we do one more on this page before we call it? We'll give it a shot. There's been enough requests that we will do one of these days eventually here. We'll do an Engrosser Script stream. I should bring an Engrosser Script guest and do an Engrosser Script stream. Engrosser Script stream. But I will do an Engrosser Script stream one day, just because people have been requesting it a whole lot. Have a good one, Sudeep. Turn the page a little bit for this ending stroke because it feels better at a bit of an angle. Oh yeah, I was supposed to be trying to make my shades bigger. I kind of forgot. Not too shabby, that one. A Madaraz stream? Or a Madaraz signature? Both. I've done Madaraz signatures before. My writing looks nothing like Madaraz's, which is... Oh, I forgot to cross my T. That's okay. It'd be fun to do like a... Madaraz stream. Have to figure out what to do for a Madaraz stream. Wow, we're gonna put the book away. Let's create some signatures here. See what we can come up with. Mr. Grimes had requested DT Grimes. As a general rule, I don't usually do signatures that have D's in them. Okay, we gotta get creative here. Not just a standard signature. We gotta see what we can come up with. Question for you, actually, David. Have you ever seen somebody do... This might look ugly, but what if the bottom loop on the D... Does anybody make that really long? Trying to think of a clever way. Can't put that shade there if I do that. Let's see. I mean, we could do something like... I didn't really think about the G coming in. Ah! Sudeep was asking me this question earlier. Now how can the G... It'd be great if you just D and T, but now we need a G, and I didn't really connect anything. Oh! This could fully connect! You could start the D with the top of the T. That's a fun idea. But we need to get a G in there somehow. What if... Could this go through? This is gonna be wackadoodle. To make our G? Huh. I think he's basically asking why you disagree. Okay, what if I do... We have our E going into the D. Oh shoot, this was supposed to go into the G. And then we do our T stem afterwards. This can work. This can work. Maybe. Hello, Sarah. Yeah, you're later than usual today, Sarah. No worries. Thanks for popping in. Okay, now that D kind of does look a little weird. But... oh... no, that can't all be one stroke. I just had a thought. I was like, oh, now this can totally be one stroke. Which means, how would you start? There's nowhere to start. That's one flowing stroke. Where would I start that if I was going to do it that way? Probably the way I did here. I don't know that I like this going. I don't like the shape of this, though. How can I do that cooler? What if we did something like this? Full experimentation mode now. And then from here... spacing was off, but the T would fit in here somewhere nicely. No, this looks ugly from there to there. I don't like it. Okay. Oh, can we do... oh, David, have you seen all the English roundhand that Walker has been doing and studying lately? Wowzers. We have an English roundhand channel on the Discord. It's been really cool. Old school styles. That's how I would do it. It kind of breaks my double compound curve rule a little bit. But I think it's okay. I think that's allowed in this instance. Get a new sheet. I took a bunch of pictures from an old manuscript from, I think it was late 1600s when I was in New York. It's cool. I need to process them and get them on my website because it was pretty neat. What if that line wasn't touching and just looked like it wanted to be touching? Or, wait, what about this? Nope, don't like that. In my head, this looked much more like a... It looked much more like that kind of a stroke, and then it didn't turn out that way at all. What if we do a similar thing with the other variation of the capital D? No, this is... I mean, that... There's nothing snazzy about that. That's just 3 letters. We gotta make it connect in an interesting way somehow. Oh, we could do... This was one of the cool things that I wish I could have seen that, like, they said Monteraz would do. Where he would pick a name, or somebody would give him a name when he was doing cards, and he would just do, like, rapid fire a bunch of different versions, apparently. So they say he would do that. I think most of the penmen could do that, but it's so cool just to really rapidly come up with a whole bunch of different ideas of a signature, which is neat. There. It's the most unique DT Grimes signature I've ever come up with. Of all of the 5 that I... I like kind of how this plays in here. It's a neat idea. You know what's always fascinating? And I wish I could do this on purpose. It almost happened twice in the signature, but it happened once. So I had a nib skip right here at the bottom of this D, where this line goes through. Not an intentional space, but that hairline stops where this just happens to come through later. It almost also happened at the top of this G, where this hairline almost crossed right through the middle of a nib skip on a G. How cool would that be if we could just do that intentionally all the time? Because it looks really cool. It looks like it did it on purpose right here. I definitely didn't. I've had people think that I do that on purpose before when it works, and I'm not that good. Not at speed. That's way too fast. Very well answered also, David, by the way. Oh, I'm out of tea. No, I never had tea. I'm out of hot chocolate. Damn. That's kind of a neat... I like this signature. In a perfect world, this line going into the G would dip down a little more. And it could technically... This would be a little bit longer. And this would dip down a little bit more. And then ideally... this hairline would cut more through the middle of that little bit, or a little lower to open that up, but yeah. I'm glad we came up with something quick. What else we got? Somebody give me some more. Doesn't have to be somebody in the chat, but somebody in the chat just give me some capitals. We'll try to on the fly. I'm trying to stretch a muscle now. I'm exercising to try to come up with random ideas on the fly that aren't just the go-to. I find it really easy if somebody gave a signature. Let's do SB Schultz. Sounds good. SBS? Oh, you're making me work. What? VQY? You guys are mean. I see what's happening here. Here, we'll start with SBS. Oh, maybe we'll steal, just for fun, we'll steal that Bartow S. It wasn't Bartow that wrote that, I don't think, but steal that S in the Bartow signature. Oh, maybe we can use, because we have to be going this way. We can either use the long B, or can we use... Wait, how are we gonna do this? Ugly last S, but... Oh, and if we did that, and we were smart about it, and we had that same shade on top and bottom, could look really cool. Okay, so our goal, we want this little accent line to be like here instead, not quite so far over. And it'll bisect through that S. Yeah. It is indeed. All right, let's see what we can do here. So if I extend this S, then we do the B. Ooh, we can bring that all the way out. We'll try it. See how it goes. Nope, that was too big. Don't like how big that space is. But... Alright. Smaller loop on the B. But we don't know until we try. The hardest thing about that Bartow signature was getting this super little like loop on this end. It feels so weird. I don't think I've done it right once. I think one of my versions of that signature had it decent, but it's very strange. That's a little better. Tiny shade on that last S by accident, but... Oh, I can't spell. Darn it, Mike. We have that there, and we put this there. I don't know that I like the bottom one as much as I thought I would. I like the top one going through the S. But maybe this one is just a simple compound curve, perhaps, to fill that space. might look better. I would assume most people spell it with a T most of the time. Most people don't probably spell it like I just did. S-C-U-H is where my brain was at. No, S-C-U-L is what I wrote. Oi. Oi, oi, oi. Spelling goes out the window when I'm focusing on letters. Oh, I keep getting this too close to the B, so this shade is much more upright than I'd like. But that's the idea so far of the whole thing. And we have this going through here. Then we have our C-H-U-L-Z, or Z for my American folks. Maybe just a very simple... Oh, a little bit too much gusto on that Z, but I like just a little bit of shade on the Z. I think we wanted it to look like... something like that. Just a little bit of shade on that descender. But that's the idea. I like that one. S.B. Schultz. Sweet, sweet. Now we'll try V.Q. Yolanda. Now, is that just to give me a hard time, or do you know somebody with the initials V.Q. Yolanda, David? I'm curious. V.Q. Yolanda. Nah, just for me. Oh, so kind of you. That's how I felt when Joe Vitolo doing his... Anything with a V is always like, what? Joe's signature took some work. I like now, though. I feel like it's been a long time since some of the signatures that, like that one that I did back in the day that I felt were really complicated, I need to take new swings at now in this type of a scenario, because the cool thing about doing it on stream, I can't get stuck on an idea, because that's what I'll do when I design signatures. I get stuck on an idea and then I make them work, but that literally takes me hours. This is like, whoa, that didn't work. Throw something else at the wall and see what else sticks. And it just becomes like just experimenting till you find something that looks and feels good to write, which is cool. And whether I can write it good or not, I need to come up with the ideas because I'm on stream and I have to be fluid and whatnot. Famous signatures. The problem is, I feel like there's so many of like the really known ones. Okay. V.Q. Yolanda. What the? Okay, we'll start at chill. Which variation of the Q are we going to use? Okay. Oh, of today's penman. That's a good idea. I want to bring back I did it a couple years ago, and then I forgot to last year. Because I wasn't supposed to be attending. I wasn't going to be at IAMPIT last year. But I got lucky like a week right before the event, and I ended up that I was able to go. But 2 years ago, super last minute, I put it out to a bunch of penmen to do card swaps. So fill out a bunch of business card size pieces of paper or cardstock or whatnot with your signature, and then you trade it. So I would just come with a stack of MGWard signatures, and then I would go home with like a DT Grimes, a Gray Harris, Eric, like everybody just writes, and it's like trading cards basically. You bring all yours, and then other people just join in. But it was really last minute, so most of us, and we were doing our cards in the practice room. But this year, and for sure in 2026, I'm gonna make it a big thing. Give them battles. It's like there's like speed. There's a specific signature. I could write this specific poem in this amount of time. Blah blah blah. We have. I like battle stats. But yeah, it's something that I want it to be a thing that's just habitual every year. Every year you do card swaps, basically. I think would be fun. And it's like, oh, let's see what so-and-so comes up with for their card this year. Would be cool. Alright, so for a V, my first initial thought is I can go into the Q. If I do a 2Q, I can get in that way. Now, how the heck do I get into the Y? This is not an easy signature by any stretch of the imagination. Plus 10 shoulder movement. I like that. My weapon is a nib. Bonus sharpened. I have nib attributes. Yeah, I'll be there in VA. I'm teaching this year. Pretty stoked. I think I might end up being like 1 day late, possibly, depending on when I have an event that, so long as it doesn't get canceled like it did last year. And I don't think it will this year. I think it'll run. I will be going straight from, I'll be at that event for a week, and then I'll fly straight from there to IAMPIT, rather than going home in the middle. But I don't know exactly how that's going to work yet, but I will be there. That's a Z. That's not even a Q. As I said it, I looked up and saw that Skeet typed it. That's not a Q. The idea in my head was right, though. It was that. But going from a Q into a Y should be easier. I could do the boring way, would just be doing... Spinning top just died. I saw it, or I heard it. Okay, but I don't like that. This is such a standard. Anytime you do a compound curve into a stem, or... That's too easy, too standard. I won't say easy, but it was the go-to for everybody back in the day. We gotta think outside the box. Somehow. How to go from a Q... It would help if I... No, I want to do the GQ. I want to do that Q. Interesting. Okay. If we start with the Q and do a GQ. Then we go into an interesting idea. I'm not a huge fan of this sitting out here on its own, or of this compound curve the way it sits right now. I would like it better if it came up like this and out. Maybe? Maybe? And then this is a little funky too. Yolanda, and then maybe we'll cop out and do the old school ending flourish that they use. Something like that on the end, which is such a cop out. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. We gotta fix this. The V. How do we get into the V and make it look nicer than that? What if I made a double, would a double loop over there make me feel less weird about it? If we did. No. This is a hard one to try to be creative on. Okay. Change of plan. We'll go back to starting with the V. Start it down here. Then do our Q. Oops, put that there. No, we can go straight from that. No, I don't like that either. I don't like any of these ideas. They would all work, but I'm being picky. Oh, what if we did... Nah. The tech side of a two-person live, there's a website that you can use where the tricky bit is the second person being able to see sort of like the chat and all that kind of stuff. They would have to load, I think, on their phone or something, the stream so that they could specifically just see the chat and whatnot. I think. But there's a website you essentially call into. It's not like Zoom or anything like that. But basically, I send a link to somebody, then they join this like web-based sort of video thing, and then I pull that video into my streaming software, or the capture from their camera, and then I play it here, and I would put it, well, a decision depending on what was happening. Either we lose the face cams, or it's split in the middle, and the face cams get smaller, and we have the two two hemispheres, or we go top and bottom and have lengthwise. Yeah, it would not specifically FaceTime, but yes, it would basically, I could do I can output a video from, like, I've done it before with Skype. I wouldn't do it this way. I wouldn't do it the Skype way, but I've done, and Zoom as well. You do essentially a Skype call, and then in Skype, I can do a window capture of just the guest's face, and I can bring that into my OBS. One, I mean, you don't need specifically a Stream Deck to do that. You can do, there are apps and whatnot that you can have a digital version of a Stream Deck on your phone to sort of swap between different looks, which is what it would be a good idea for me to do if I had a guest, so I could really quickly, if we're both just milling around, but then if we want to highlight something, I could press a button and it would specifically zoom on the guests, or they'd get full screen, so on and so forth. I would, not hard to change, have the scenes set up. It's just a matter of setting the trigger buttons. So if I want to change to the guest, it would be something like, and here's the guest screen. But then we come back here. It's really funny that the music stopped at the same time. We were just between songs at the same time that I did that. It was unintentional for the music to stop, but that was really funny. So, because it got really quiet and I thought I broke it for a sec. But no, you could change the scenes and all that would be easy to set up. That's my starting fade. Goes super long. And then we come back. Which technically I could do lots of different setups. Yeah, for sure. The tricky bit, and it's the tricky bit for me with getting too many people. I mean, I could do, there's no limit to how many you could have, but my computer is on the older side slightly, and I have to both bring all of those video feeds have to be pulled from the internet, and then they have to be, again, pushed out. So my internet can handle it, but it's just my computer's processing power to bring that many feeds in and push them out again, which could be tricky. Definitely possible. I'm waiting for a new laptop that I've been waiting for a while, a new model that I want to be released so that I can upgrade, but I don't know when it's gonna happen. The last upgrade that, I'm a Dell user, the last upgrade they did for my specific model I wasn't a fan of, and now they're making a whole bunch of big changes and slowly rolling out a new line of computers, and depending on what the equivalent of my computer doesn't exist in the new line yet, so when that one comes out, if it's good, then I'll get a new powerhouse. In a perfect world, I was thinking about making an actual, a proper, desktop computer to stream with, but I just travel so much that it would be annoying always sort of syncing back and forth between two different systems. So I think my setup needs to be laptop powered, unfortunately. Oh, I don't know how to get into this Y in a cool way. Doing a long compound curve feels like a cop-out. I really like this V into this Q. do I get into the Y from there? I'm gonna try something. This might not look good, but we're gonna experiment. Something like that. I like that much more. This is kind of unorthodox, but it's creating a bit of a trick stroke where this line, I didn't intend to have my starting oval start right there. So this, if this was there technically, then this would be nothing there, and this would be just a line that looks like it fully goes into the Y, but then it has this little bead to go into the Q, which I don't mind. It's not a bad idea. Leave that for now. Do the Y. Oh, messed that up a little bit, but something like that. Not mad at that idea. VQ Yolanda. Not easy. I think a lot of people would probably read that, unfortunately, as VG Yolanda. It's better that when it has that, at least it has that little bead there, but. Now that makes me wonder, could you do the V straight into the Y and just fit the Q in later? Whoops. Which doesn't look much different. That also works. Either of those could work, I suppose. You know what would be neat? Now this is admittedly just silly, but we're gonna try it anyways. Oh, I need that sheet for reference. For what I'm trying to do here. Pretend that didn't happen. No, that doesn't work. Why did I think going up there is too drastic? But if this came down through here... Oh, it could do that, but then we have 2 loops on this side, and I don't like that. Never mind. Bad idea. Oh. Yeah, we're gonna say that's the go-to one for VQ Yolanda. For today's brain, anyways. And speaking of today's brain, I do think that's about it for me today. I know we're very close to the midnight hour, but I think I'm going to call it a night tonight. Since Lene, we'll blame it on Lene. Since Lene's dozing off, we're gonna end the stream. Oh, you're well done making it to the end, Mr. Grimes. Have you ever been here for a Blacklight Live before? They're a fun time. I don't know when the next one's gonna be. We have to see. Oh, that's it for today's brain. Remind me, Sarah. Send me that as a note at some point. I need to put it in my design for t-shirts list. Or stickers. You have been lurking, Ojaswinny, and it's your day off work and everything. And you're chilling. But that's okay. It's not anybody's fault. I'm just tired. Feeling good. This was a great night. Fun experiments and whatnot. Really good chats. Some great long-winded answers to some really good questions. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming up with really good questions. I love questions. If you want to be a part of this community, or I have a Discord. The link is in the description of this video. It's called the Creatrium. If you are a beginner, calligrapher, penman, artist, enthusiast, and you have questions, that is my favorite place to recommend to ask them, because there's a whole community of incredible people that can answer them for you. I'm in there. There's lots of awesome people in there. Yeah. Thank you very much. Wow. Thank you very much, everybody. Not thank you very much. This is why I have to end the stream. I'm all over the place today. Thank you very much, everybody, for hanging out with me today. I hope you had fun. Please enjoy the rest of your morning, noon, evening, whatever time it is for you. Make sure that you are falling in love with the process. And don't forget, everybody, that life should be just a bit of silliness, really. We'll see you in the next one. What'll be next? Maybe engrosser script? Maybe business penmanship? Maybe a guest? We'll find out next time. And broadcast.